This episode of Fuel for the Soul is powered by ASICS. Head over to asics.com and sign up for a one ASICS account. It's completely free, and when you sign up, you will receive 10% off your first purchase. You'll also gain access to exclusive colorways on asics.com, free standard shipping, special birthday month discounts, and more.
Hi, this is Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Megan with Believe in the Run.
And this is Megan with Featherstone Nutrition.
And I'm just going to say AKA Feathers, and then we can move on.
And you're listening to Fuel for the Soul, the podcast where we chat all things hydration and nutrition and how it affects performance.
And you know what? I was going to give the people a little inside information.
On?
A little secret. You guys should hear the conversations we have before we start recording because they are ridiculous. And the only way you're going to do it, just hang out with us at one of our events when we come someplace or maybe when we'll be in Boston. These guys will be doing the car boxes. The conversations go all over the place. It's just as bad as the Drop podcast, maybe even worse.
I mean,
yeah,
they get a little bit of it here every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's because we don't talk as much as you do at the Drop, you know? Like, you guys see each other every
catch
day.
up.
So, like, when we get on here, it's down and dirty pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. We covered everything from runners' abs to mom butts. You don't know. There's tons of stuff that you guys missed.
But today we are going to answer a bunch of your listener questions. But before we do so, we want to talk about our sponsor, Runway. And this week, I'm really excited. Megan, someone wrote in, Kendall, who
Do you remember
wrote
Kendall?
into us, yes, previously about razzmatazz,
Razzmatazz.
the pre-workout that was like crack cocaine.
Yeah. Wait, it's not like crack
You
cocaine
wanted
at all.
some, remember? No,
have
not
it, don't I?
Runways. No, not
No,
Runways
yeah.
pre-workout. She was the one who
Oh.
wrote in, remember, saying that, like, nothing hit the same as the blue razzmatazz.
Oh, yeah.
and we
I
talked
would try
about what
that.
could have been in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she wrote in again and she said, fast forward to a couple of weeks ago and I hear you mention your sponsor Runway is launching a new product for a stimulant-free pre-workout. I yelled at my husband from the treadmill, hey, I think I need to try this pre-workout. It doesn't have any calf. Oh my hell, they remember me. I told them we would be fast friends. So now I figure it's finally time for me to thank you for answering my question and introducing me to Extra Mile by Runway. It is currently my go-to pre-workout. Hopefully it will keep me off the razzmatazz. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The community your podcast has created is amazing. I have learned so much and it has provided many hours of entertainment on my long runs. I mean, that's quite the endorsement.
I like that
Right?
she's on a treadmill since I'm having to spend so much time on a treadmill. I feel a kindred.
Did you use your pre-workout today?
I did.
Very good.
Here you go.
But even more importantly, post-workout, I wanted to get in the shower because we were running. I did a longer workout on the treadmill. So I got my Runway protein out with the creatine. And I mixed up that. And it might even make it in the video this week.
The pre, the post, all the Runway goods.
Yeah. So Thomas is using the pre-workout and he's also using the protein powder afterwards. Their original product is the foundation product that is collagen with some other jazz in there that is meant to be taken pre-run to really help keep your joints, soft tissues healthy. So, you know, we have a little battle going on over here if cherry is better or lemon lime, but I prefer cherry.
I will go with you with cherry.
So if you guys want to try the Runway collagen or the protein or pre-workout, you can go to runway.life, that's RNWY.life, and use the code FEATHERS15 for 15% off your purchase. Okay, let's get into some questions today. Actually, before questions, let's talk about an Adidas miler, Hobbs Kessler. Why are we talking about Hobbs today?
Did you guys see his article about his nutrition?
I didn't.
Corn on the
No.
hobs?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So Hobbs Kessler, you know, distance runner, right? You said miler. I think, didn't he just he just won the 3,000 at the indoor maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So,
If you
I mean,
say
he's
so.
like, yeah. So he's up and coming, right? And he's a younger athlete. And he came out with this article saying that he really didn't understand how to fuel and he was just kind of running and not really paying any attention to his fueling. And his exercise physiologist was like, yo, dude, like, if you want to take your performance to the next level, like you need to be more intentional with the timing of your nutrition and your carbohydrate intake. So I guess his mom was a marathon runner. So he was like, yo, Ma, what do I need to do? And she was like, oh, I used to always just drink Country Time lemonade. So he takes a bottle of Country Time lemonade to his track workouts, and he sips on Country Time lemonade before. He even showed like the picture of the powder that he keeps in his trunk of the Country Time lemonade that he mixes and drinks after to kind of replenish his glycogen stores. And then apparently along with his Country Time lemonade, he is a huge fan of Rice Krispie treats. So he pounds a few Rice Krispie treats before and after all of his sessions. And if that's not absolutely incredible, we talk all the time about like there's a time and a place for those quick carbohydrates. So when he's out there doing these workouts and expecting his body to hit these high intensity paces, he's torching carbs, and he needs carbs to be able to hit those paces. So he's just a walking endorsement for Rice Krispie treats and Country Time lemonade, apparently.
It sounds like you could pack him a Lunchable and he'd be fine he'd be good to go. How old is he now?
He's 21.
Okay.
Yeah. But so then somebody asked him about bicarb, and they were like, well, like, have you tried bicarb? What about it? And he's like, yeah, I've tried it. I don't think it works at all. I think the Country Time lemonade and Rice Krispie treats are better. I'm like, I love this boy. Sorry, man. Yeah, I'm like, seriously, like, this is amazing. We're seeing all these young athletes that are going for all of this like flashy, sexy supplement type stuff, and he's legitimately drinking Country Time lemonade out of his trunk. Like, just keep it easy.
That's amazing.
Simple. Yeah.
Isn't that the point that we've talked about here before, like whether it's the nerds clusters or the other ways to get carbs, and people are always slamming you because you're like telling people to eat graham crackers, and they're like, oh, that's not the healthiest
it's processed thing.
Yeah, it processed food and stuff. But it's like if you have a furnace and you throw in wood in it doesn't matter if it's spruce, pine, whatever, it's gonna burn. And I think that's the message there. Now, but if you look at like a Country Time lemonade powder, it's maybe missing some of the electrolytes that we get from like a more engineered drink. And this is the same thing when we talked about the nerd clusters. Nerd clusters are fine. They're a carb, it's sugar, it's going to hit your system. But it's missing some of those extra little pieces that might be beneficial. I don't know though at a mile.
I was going to say at the short distances, does that matter as much?
Like the carbohydrates?
Yeah, like the ratio of like fructose. Like I know there's supposed to be like a certain amount of
and salt.
Yeah.
No, probably not, honestly, to be fair. Yeah, like he just needs to keep his blood sugar a little elevated. We have receptors for carbohydrates in our mouth too. So like back in the day, there used to be that whole like swish and spit method for like track athletes, because even just having sugar in our mouth tells our brain like, yo, carbs are coming. So having something that's a little stronger in carbohydrates, like a Country Time lemonade, is going to have more grams of carbs if he's mixing it per the bottle. It's going to have more carbs than say your normal electrolyte drink for sure. So he's getting like that double hit, right? He's getting like the oral, like, hey, there's carbs coming. And then when he swallows it, he's actually getting the carbs. So, I mean, it's those quick carbohydrates that he needs to support that high end performance and bounce back.
Country Time has to be close to like a Kool-Aid or.
That's what as a kid, we used to sell lemonade like in the neighborhood, and it was Country Time lemonade that we would use.
You didn't fresh squeeze?
And no.
What a ripoff.
Who fresh
squeezes? I'm literally tasting it right now. Like there was the pink lemonade and then the regular lemonade, and they were so good.
No, my thing wasn't tasting it was smelling it, because when you scooped it into stuff, it would go up your nose. And I'd be like, oh.
It says one serving has 24 grams of carbs. Or 26, which is actually very close to a sports drink. So maybe it's not as concentrated as I thought. Yeah, because a sports drink's like 20 to 22. Yeah. Who knew?
And that's like a cup of water, or what? What
it
is
says
that?
19 ounces, but that seems like too much.
Whoa.
Doesn't that
19
sound like
ounces
too much?
is a serving?
That's a lot.
Nothing comes in a 19. You don't buy 19 ounces. You get 24, you get 12, you get 10.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a pre-made bottle. Oh, no, you're supposed to mix it with 12 fluid ounces, the powder.
Okay.
For 26 grams of carbs. 2 tablespoons. Yeah.
Yeah, you talking loco.
Right?
I really want some now.
Right?
We're going to have to go get some.
Actually, it'd be brilliant.
Lemonade.
Country Time should sponsor some people to run.
Yeah.
Country Time.
They should sponsor
singlets and
Hobbs.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I love that we have like sports nutrition brands that really
Yeah.
tailor things to what we need. But I think this is just a solid example of like adequate fueling is king, you know? So if this is the way that it works for him and this is easy, and I absolutely love that his mom used the same thing when she was building up. It looks like she did the 2012 Olympic marathon trials. She's a 2:44 marathoner. So his mom was like, yeah, just have some country time lemonade. Like, that's epic. Like, that's so cool. I love this
That's-
story.
I wonder if they celebrate at Cracker Barrel or something. Seems like that would be the food that would go with country time lemonade.
Yeah.
I also like that. I mean, I love Morton and I use all of their products, but the bicarb is one that I haven't dabbled with just because it feels crazy to me. Like there's like I feel like a witch like brewing something trying to make that. And they even
It's
say
polyjuice potion.
They even say it's for a 1% increase in performance. And like you were saying, just fueling properly is what? 10?
Oh God. Yeah. Probably 7 to 10%, honestly. Yeah.
We should add up all the stuff that supposedly gives you a percent, like good sleep the night before. What percentage of your race is that? Making sure that you go to the bathroom before the race. What percentage of
Shoes.
stuff? Shoes.
Carb load.
Yeah.
Fuel.
Nutrition. Yeah.
People are trying to do all these new articles saying shoes don't matter at all.
I mean, that's nonsense.
That's like somebody saying nutrition doesn't matter at all.
Right.
Like, clearly it does. Like, is there individual variation from person to person?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're saying
for both.
elites are not getting the benefit out of the nutrition. I'm like, that can't be true. Look at all the stuff that's happening.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
look at
why
those
are we
world
breaking
records.
Yeah, left and right? Like, you can't say that's not partly from the shoes. Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah.
All right. Let's answer some questions here. This first one is from Lizzie. She says, how does one fuel when they have to miss their spring marathon due to injury? And do we require less carbs if primarily weight training and or cross training?
Injuries are kind of tricky because we're used to running a ton and all of a sudden that's taken away from us and people kind of panic, like, what do I do with my nutrition now? Right? Because we're thinking, I shouldn't say we're thinking, but oftentimes people feel like they're quote unquote earning how they're eating based on their running, which I always try to break down that association because our body needs a significant amount of nutrition just to survive and be healthy on a daily basis. So sometimes it's breaking that connection that we only need to eat a certain way because we're running, right? Like, yes, we have to alter things because we're running, but just because running goes away doesn't mean nutrition is not important anymore. So a lot of times when somebody gets injured, we're kind of looking at it in 3 stages. So like the initial injury, and then like the downtime when we're not allowed to do too much, and then when we're allowed to add more cross training back. Like there's kind of 3 different sections in there as far as nutrition goes. So immediately when we get injured, or maybe we're not even quite sure what it is, the severity of it, but all we're told is like rest, like stop doing the activity that caused this injury, right? In that acute injury phase, we actually have an increased energy need, an increased protein need, an increased fat need. So stopping running doesn't mean we should really scale back on nutrition, because to Thomas's point, if we do, we're not giving our body what it needs to start that healing process. So it's really important that we still have very solid, frequent nutrition. But if we were running 70 miles a week and all of a sudden we're running none, after a few days, right? Yes, the nutrition is going to have to change if we're not allowed to do much or let's say anything right away. Protein needs stay very, very high because when we're inactive after a period of doing a ton of activity, like going from training to absolutely nothing, we're at risk of losing muscle mass because we're not using those muscles. So there is some good research to show if we can keep our protein high, like we were eating when we were training, or if we weren't nailing it when we're training, really prioritizing that protein 3 times a day can really help us hang on to that lean muscle mass when we're less active, I should say. And then also, that's going to really help us with our appetite and, keep us a little more satisfied throughout the day. But we still need carbs. Like our brain uses 120 to 150 grams of carbs a day. So just because we're
Everybody's
not running,
brain?
I hope yours does. Yours
Okay.
uses more. It's turning constantly. So, we definitely still need carbs. And then fat needs are very important. So nutrition often isn't a massive shift because if you think about it, you're probably not eating carbs before that run because you're not running. you're not eating them during, and then you're not having as big of a recovery meal after. So part of it's taken care of just by running, not being there. But then the other thing is just really staying on top of like, what do we need, and building that confidence and not undercutting things, because that's just going to delay the recovery process. But then that third phase is where we're allowed to start cross training more. We're all crazy. We cross train so much when we're injured, right? Like I see people on the elliptical for 3 hours. I saw,
and we're like, we're going to keep this up once we get back to running.
right. Or like, I know Emma Colburn is, a professional, but I remember when we saw her at, was it the Brooklyn half?
Yeah.
She had just broken her foot and she was biking for 3 hours that morning
Yeah.
before we saw her, like granted, she's a professional, but that's not a different nutrition need. So I think sometimes we underestimate like the energy burn of cross training. Some people are easily burning as much energy cross training as they were running, if not more. So a lot of times it's that education too, because that can, again, delay our healing if we're cross training a ton and not realizing the nutrition needs that come along with that. So it can be really hard. I keep thinking I need to put like together a program to help people through this whole concept, because that was one thing that, at least when I was injured, I knew exactly what my nutrition needed to do and how to change it. So that was one thing that wasn't a stressor on my plate. But I understand that's got to be a huge stressor for somebody who's not confident in how that needs to change and what that looks like, and scaling up and down based on different things. And we want some sort of control in the injury process, and we have none. So a lot of people will search for something such as nutrition, to help with that.
What I think is crazy though is you don't sweat like you do when you're running, even when you're cross training. Like I go to the gym and I lift weights and I feel strong, and I notice it. I notice the changes in my body, and I notice that I feel fit, but you don't sweat. And I think when you're injured, I miss the sweat. It's like a wringing out of like stuff. And I don't care what people say. There's got to be bad stuff in us, because you feel better after you sweat. 2, that makes you feel doughy. So that when you're injured, even if you are getting the exercise and you are burning the calories, and I've been on the bike and yeah, you sweat a little bit, but you don't sweat like you do when you're running. And your body just feels more doughy like. And I think that that's where the fear comes in, and you start to think, oh, I'm gaining weight, or I'm doing this. And it's probably more the amount of water you're retaining that you're not used to having in your system.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible, I think. And 2, like, our bodies are going to change if we go from training for a marathon to not. Like, our body's not going to be exactly the same, right? Like, I'll use myself as an example. That one of the first doctors I said was like, you need more muscle mass. And I'm like, well, that's a genetic problem, but you know what I mean? But like, being in physical therapy, I have been able to build more muscle than I thought I'd be able to with his help, so like our bodies are gonna change, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing, right? It's probably what we needed to be a healthier runner or a healthier athlete. So I think just being open to like, what can I control here? Who can I enlist for some help to really just make sure that I'm getting what I need and coming back even stronger than I was, before.
Okay, let's answer Emma Gray's question. She said, love, love, love the podcast so much and have learned heaps. I feel like she's British. I have a question about collagen and protein powder. Is it too much to have a scoop of collagen pre-run and then also supplement my breakfast with a scoop of protein powder, whey protein isolate post-run? Have got a niggly hamstring, so trying to do everything I can to help with recovery, but also don't know if this is total overkill. Thanks, legends.
Yeah, she's definitely British. But I don't understand the question. Is she saying collagen and protein is overkill?
That she's asking.
That's what she's wondering.
Yeah.
No, that's what we all do.
Right. I think she's nailing it. Emma is crushing it here. Like, this is exactly what we want to do. We want to make sure the research on collagen shows that we need to take it like 45 minutes before we have more blood flow to that area. So of course, before a run, if we're injured, before a bike, before physical therapy, before a lift session, all of those things would help, because it takes about 45 minutes for that collagen, the amino acids, the peptides, broken down into our bloodstream, so that we can get them where they want to go. Because hamstrings, Achilles, and then also like joint tissue is really hard to get good blood flow to. So we want to take that collagen so it's peaking in our bloodstream when we're getting better blood flow to those areas. So taking it beforehand is perfect. And then the recommendations are like 10 to 20 grams of collagen. And then post exercise, we've broken down our muscles that we need to build back up. So we do want protein afterwards. Whey protein is a very solid option. It triggers muscle protein synthesis, aka recovery, very easily, very quickly. So she's absolutely crushing this. Like that's exactly how we want them timed: collagen before, and then like whey protein or another high quality protein powder or food protein after exercise.
All right, so clarification question. We buy a lot of collagen. We get it from Amazon. We get it from BJ's, or, the big club that we have here, the wholesale club. And then you can get it from Runway. You can get it from all these places. It seems like a commodity product, and I can't tell because the price changes from one brand to another. Like, I'm like, okay, I can get it at BJ's, a large canister, and it doesn't seem like that much. But then you go online, and Megan got one that, because we like to mix it into coffee. Mm-hmm. So she got one that was much more expensive.
I think it's the certification. So the ones that are certified seem to be like $45 to $50 for a month serving. Yeah. And I think the ones that are not are about half that.
Is this something that you definitely need the certification for? Because it seems like you were telling us it's basically like what rawhide is.
It is, but our supplement industry, like I feel like anything that we can find a certified option for, so that would be the Informed Choice for Sport or the NSF certification. I recommend it. I really do. I think it's worth the slightly more money. It's just such the Wild West out there. We see that whether it's intentional or not, the risk of a supplement being contaminated is really high. When we think we saw that in the protein powder that we talked about, with the excessive amounts of lead that people didn't even realize were in there until they looked at it, So I do think it's important to get them certified. The other thing I wonder that I've heard about collagen, so the Runway product is obviously, like we said at the beginning, cherry or lemon lime, so it's flavored. So if somebody wants a standalone collagen powder, like you guys are saying, to put in coffee, or some people just don't like artificial sweeteners or something like that, you want to make sure that your collagen also has vitamin C with it, because it's a cofactor that's needed for the actual synthesis of new collagen production in your body. And what we've found, I've had a lot of clients that have like reordered the same collagen off of Amazon, and the new one will come with no vitamin C. So part of me wonders if the price is like, if there's like slightly different variations or formulations, I should say, and maybe some of them are a little more expensive than others just based on that. But yeah, prices of stuff right now are just insane anyways, so it could just
vitamin C seems like one of the cheapest vitamins too.
Probably. Yeah, ascorbic acid, it's pretty cheap.
The ones that, if someone is looking for a certified collagen that's plain to put in coffee, the ones that I've purchased that have been good were Gnarly Nutrition, Clean,
Pillar,
K, and Pillar.
Yeah. Momentous is too. Yeah.
Oh, and Momentous. Yep, that one. All right. So Emma, keep taking your collagen and keep taking your post-run protein.
Good on you, mate.
Okay. Our next question here is from Brandon. He said, Crank Sports, ever heard of them? Are they legit? Saw their ad on Instagram boasting how great they are comparing to all other gels.
That was a cycling one.
Crank?
Crank comes from the cycling world.
We kind of answered this on another podcast. It's the Crank e-gels. And I think we looked at their website, and it looks pretty old school. So I see why people are like, what the heck? And they're not sold on the feed. Like, you have to buy them off their website. Some people can find them at their local running stores, but not they're not anywhere near me locally. So they are a little bit of a different bird. I don't know. Like, it's not, finding them in the same spots as we would find other things. So yeah, they probably are legit, but I thought this might be a good opportunity for us to kind of break down different types of gels. I just posted something on Instagram today and yesterday about this, because I've been getting so many questions on types of gels. What's the best? How to use them? Do I need water with them? Do I not? So, all we have to do is hop over to the feed and see that there's 50, 60, 70, 80 different types of energy gels now. It's insane. Have you guys looked there lately?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I get it and I don't get it. Like, I like a different gel than you guys like.
I feel like it's how it's like part of like the running boom. Like we've had all these like apparel brands come out of nowhere, and like same thing. It's like we have all these like nutrition brands, and I'm like, where did that come from?
And goo now is over $2 a goo. I was like, what is happening?
They
Like,
did the
everything's
super
getting
shoe thing.
expensive.
They did it.
Yeah.
They saw that Morton could charge
Yeah.
$250,
Yeah.
and they're like, if they can charge $250, why don't we just charge $2?
So, when we're thinking about like, is this gel legit? Will this work for me? What am I looking for? We can kind of bucket different types of gels into like 3 different buckets, if you will. One would be like our engineered sports gels. So we know through a lot of research over many, many years, but then also more recently, as there's been this push for us to like consume more and more grams of carbs per hour. We used to think that we could only absorb like up to 90 grams of carbs per hour. But once we really started kind of understanding and studying like how do we actually absorb and transport different types of carbohydrates, we realized that if we have like a 1 to like 0.8 ratio of like glucose to fructose is actually like passively absorbed through our small intestine, whereas glucose is active. So like if we maximize the amount that we can absorb through each of those channels, we can take in more. So a lot of these quote unquote engineered gels have a specific ratio of glucose, which may also be in there as maltodextrin because it's broken down into that, and fructose. So for a while, engineered gels were like, no, we need real food, right? There was like a huge push with that a few years back. But in my mind, I've always been like, these engineered gels are literally made for us to absorb them the fastest, the best, the easiest, to be the easiest on our GI tract. So for somebody who is trying to push carbs higher per hour or has a sensitive GI tract, like I highly recommend sticking with the gels that are in that more engineered gel type thing. If you're somebody who prefers more of the quote unquote real food, there's plenty of options for that as well. They just might take a little bit longer to digest, and if your stomach handles them, then that's totally fine to kind of push that and see, where you max out grams of carbs per hour that feels the best for you in your training. And then there's UCAN, which is its own bucket in and of itself that is more of a starch, and it's not going to spike our blood sugar like the former 2 buckets. And some people like how that feels, some people don't. So, for me to be like, is this cranky gel good for you or not? You just kind of have to understand there's different options. Which ones work for you? Can you get them open while you're training? Does it bother your stomach? Do you like the flavor? Like those are kind of the things to think about.
2 things that you bring up, like Generation UCAN. I'm not seeing as many athletes touting that anymore.
I follow Kiara D'Amato and Emma pretty closely, and I just see that all day long.
Okay, so
And Dakota
but they're
now.
paid.
Yeah.
They're paid. Do you know any athletes that aren't paid that are using it?
I personally don't.
I have a couple that really, really like it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Not
and
the
then
majority, though.
the second thing is, okay, style of doing carbs. I like the liquidy ones because I can just get them down as quickly as possible and move on with my running experience. Even the Morton, I think, is a little chewier. It's not as chewy as, say, like one of the goos that has like the
That's the worst
the
consistency.
thing. So how do you guys ingest yours? Are you as fast as possible, or
No, I think I take half a gel at a time.
so you hold it for a little bit?
Oh, I just take half of it, and then I hold it in the packet, and then I take the second half.
Yeah.
I feel, I'm pretty much the same, but I feel like I have this process of like getting the gel out of my pocket and ready.
Yeah.
And then I run for a minute to like get my breathing back to normal. Cause I feel like it does increase your heart rate just a tid. And so maybe I'll even grab it like a half mile before just to like have it in my hand. And then I'll open it and take the first half. Like I always kind of like split it with my fingers and like take the top half, swallow it right away, and then catch my breath again and then slide the other half up. So I do it pretty quick.
Maybe I got to try that. Because I haven't done that. And you guys
Yeah.
both can get Morton's down pretty easily.
Mhm.
We happen to have a gigantic box of Morton, so
Yeah, thanks, Morton.
maybe I
for
should
the
give that a
gels.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine are over here expiring if anybody needs them.
I every season I end up with a box of expired Mortons.
Yeah.
It's just part of it, I guess.
Yeah. You know.
Okay, so I mean, it's kind of, I feel like this goes back to kind of what we say quite often, but it's like whatever works for you. And there's nothing to say crank sports isn't legit, right?
No, I don't. Yeah, I've looked at the ingredients. It all looks legit. It has a little more carbs and sodium in it, but like where the carbs are coming from, like I don't think it's false. Like people are worried about now, you know.
Yeah.
Like spring energy.
Yeah, exactly. I have actually never tried them, but I have some athletes who are trying them right now, and I guess they're very flavorful, like very flavorful. So if that's not your jam, you might not like them.
What do you mean very flavorful? Like sticky sweet?
Like fruit punch and like just in your face fruit punch flavor, you know?
Okay.
Like not subtle.
Yeah, I don't think I want that.
You don't like flavor at all, though.
Yeah, I like the Morton like unflavored stuff.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of something.
Yeah.
Some tutti frutti.
Like the people like Robbie and you who like they buy strategically different flavors to take throughout the like that's crazy to me. Absolutely not. I don't want to be surprised by an apple and then a coffee. Yeah.
Nope.
I don't think you get
couldn't
surprised
agree
by
more.
an apple. Like when we ran the Miami half, I had I just got goose from when we went to the expo. And I picked out flavors that were complementary, but some had caffeine and some didn't. And I just liked, I don't like having all the same flavor isn't
It's like
always
Russian
the
roulette.
greatest.
What am I gonna get? Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have some people recently, which I'm excited to try this again someday. There's a new gel out called Victus that has 40 grams of carbs, or is it 45?
Wait, is that a lot or a little?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
What
It's
does
45.
Morton have?
25. So, and it has 340 milligrams of sodium, and it's like just got a very light lemon flavor to it. So I have a lot of people right now that like Morton that are alternating Victus with a Morton. So then they're getting 70 grams of carbs an hour, and then they're getting 340 milligrams of sodium. Do you know what I mean? I have quite a few people doing that right now.
Yeah, I
know.
might have to try that too.
That sounds perfect.
One sitting here, but again, just haven't tried it yet.
It's called Victus? Okay.
I'm just intrigued.
I think I can eat more carbs per hour. I don't think I'm eating enough carbs per hour because I've got it down to now. Like if I'm in a marathon, like I almost want one every 4 miles.
It's fine, yeah. Well, because if you're taking the goos that only have 22 grams, you do need 3 an hour.
Well, no, I don't know what's in. I have to look up what's in the SIS, but that's what I've been using.
Yeah, see which ones you're using. Yeah, there's lots of options. I don't know. Just got to find what works. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Okay. That wraps it up for us today.
Wow.
Thank you all for listening and being here as always.
This is going to be short once you edit out all of my stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's 30 minutes.
All right, let's do it.
Yes. So if you have a question that we haven't answered, you can send us an email at fuelforthesoulpodcast@gmail.com and we will answer it here on the show.
Oh, peas and carrots.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, peas and carrots.
This is all on record,
Yeah,
isn't it?
sure is.
Make sure this gets deleted off.
Yeah,
the
luckily
board.
I'm the one who edits.
Peas and carrots. There we go.
No.
Quick one. All right. Hi.
I don't know. I mean, it's a great question. I wasn't ready for that one.
Sorry.
Let's throw it back to you, Meg. You caught her sleeping. I do. I also started noticing it's about the size of a hot dog, but I didn't have traps. But I'm starting to get a little bump on the.
Megan was like, "Where are you going?
What are we talking about here?" So you have a hot dog trap. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay.
A hot dog trap?
Yeah, I do. Hey.
Okay. Deep breath.
It's kosher.
I don't even know how to get this back on track.